here. Myself, Taco Bill Kafer. I also have with me Texas Mini World's top 4 player Michael Kessling. How are you, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing well. Good morning.
And I also have, I know you can't see him, but 2019 World's runner-up Brian Mischke. How are you?
Doing great.
All right, so
What a great day, Star Wars.
Oh yeah, we are broadcasting here Game 1 of the semifinals. This is not Person Lightside versus Person Darkside. This is Bastian Winkelhaus playing Darkside here with a Bespin CRV start versus Paul Myers playing Diplomatic Mission to Alderaan. Brian, let me first ask you, what is it like sitting down against Bastian Winkelhaus, let alone at a Worlds quarterfinal here?
Yeah, it can be a little intimidating considering you won 3 World Championships. But when I played him, honestly, I didn't feel too nervous. I felt like I had a good chance to beat him. Had a good game plan going in, but that all went out the window pretty quickly. So you just have to stay cool and calm playing him. He can be pretty intense, especially at live games. So yeah. Just have your game plan, stick to it, and I mean he is beatable. People have beat him, so you just have to believe that you're gonna beat one.
And Mike, that rolls right into what I was going to ask you. Does it make it any different playing somebody online versus playing live here?
I think it does. You don't have any mannerisms. It's just a very different experience. Whereas playing in person, Bastian's a pretty large, tall individual. He's kind of intimidating. You get from an accent. It's not the same experience as playing online where you're just staring into your screen all day.
Okay, well, let me jump right in here because we have kind of a non-standard start from Bastian, if you will. He did start Bespin CRV, like I said, to start Bespin and the security tower, along with, I believe it was combat response. He starts the Death Star reactor terminal, Power of the Hut, and Planetary Rings, a new card from Virtual Set 13 that does stuff with clouds. So, anybody want to chime in on what's going on here?
Back in the day, Mark Walseth had a crazy clouds deck it was on Hoth, but you try to ping with clouds and use floating refineries. I don't know, that was with floating refinery V though, so I don't even know what this one does, to be completely honest. But all I know is this is probably a pretty wild deck.
Yeah, so we saw on his turn 1, he pulled Bespin Cloud City. He pulled a Cloud Sector. One of those was probably from hand. I was trying to get us up on stream, which we're now up on stream. He also used Power of the Hut to deploy Ephitmon, and he also got a floating refinery with Death Star Reactor Terminal, which will allow him to draw his cards into hand. Mike, you got anything here?
On my face. I'm really not sure what the Ephitmon portion of this puzzle is benefiting Bastian. The rest of it, I would expect that he's likely going to be playing something into the clouds and doing some ping damage.
Well, we saw Paul has a relatively standard Diplo start here. Starting strike planning, I must be allowed to speak virtual and Walkling virtual. He is using the R2 and C3PO combo, so nothing out of the ordinary for him so far. I know I've seen him play a non-flip version. Brian, do you have any thoughts on non-flip versus flip for Diplo?
Yeah, the last tournament I played in for the FBC, I played flip Diplo, and it feels pretty good, but there are times where you just, like my loss to Jared, where you just can't flip, and it feels pretty terrible if you get into that situation. But I still think it's better than the non-flip version. I just feel like you're giving up so much if you don't go for the flip in Diplo. Once you get on the 7 side, the deck can be really hard to beat as you draw +5 for Battle Destiny and you retreat for every battle you won. So I still think I would go with flip every time.
I think I'd agree with that. There's merits. You get to hold space a little easier because you have that recurring 7 forfeit, but that's really all you have going for you.
Yeah. That recurring 7 forfeit's great unless they play the new Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Then that's not so great. It's pretty challenging then. But speaking of the Effenmon, he must be deploying some characters to that site that he wants to protect. Because I don't feel like it would be worth it. Yeah, maybe that could be it.
I'm trying to like rack my brain and come up with cards that from like the Cloud City set that, would help with gas mining and clouds and stuff, and I don't even know what's going on. So
yeah, I'm gonna start doing some research.
Imagine how Paul must feel.
Paul's taken a long time to think about it. So Paul does play the Cantina and Admiral Radis to Tantu 4. Has the farm from hand.
It is a pretty terrible feeling not knowing what the opponent's deck does, because you always second guess yourself. You don't know if you're making the right plays, and it's a big advantage if you know what's in the other person's deck and they don't know your deck. And Bastian probably doesn't even need that advantage. He definitely doesn't, but he has it right now, where he just knows everything that's already in Paul's deck. Paul has no idea what he's playing.
Yeah, so we see...
I bet he is relying on Effenmon to protect a gas miner. They work at non-battlegrounds, and they add 1 to your force train at all related cloud sectors. And then during your activate phase, if at a Cloud City site and you control Bespin Cloud City, you may cumulatively activate 1 force for every cloud sector on Bespin. So my assumption is that he's likely trying to leverage that into extra activation, and then you can use the floating refinery and the reactor terminal to draw additional cards into his hand.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets to pay for all those, how he finds a battleground site so he can satisfy battle plan, battle order, whatever one ends up on the table. I think that's always the biggest weakness with a Clouds deck. Mike, it's still very hard to hear you, apparently.
I'll try a different microphone input. I got like 5 for some reason.
I'm turning people up slightly also, so we'll see how that works out. So we see Paul is going to play General Leia to the Cantina. He's going to get a card with I Must Be Allowed to Speak. It's entirely possible he's looking for something specific. He did spend a good amount of time looking at his reserve deck. This Leia is not one I would expect out of Diplo, Brian.
Yeah, I agree. He's been playing this, though. I'm watching his other games. He's been playing the General Leia for leadership on the ground, but I still feel like it's just better to play Leia Organa because she has everything you want in Diplo, which is ability 3, she draws by herself, and she's a rebel. So I would go with her over General Leia, but this General Leia is amazing too. She's really good. I just feel like in Diplo specifically, Leia Organa is just better.
Alright, so Paul also going to play Chewbacca Protector for a reduced force amount to the Cantina and get another card. He then plays a Rescue in the Clouds, which Bastian grabs immediately. Mike, do you think that's a grab just of convenience? Do you think maybe we're going to see some close calls?
I think it's probably more out of convenience. And other than leadership, there may not be much more that Bastian is worried about. I think he's just hoping to slow down the filtering for Paul.
He's playing at Cloud City too, so he might be having weapons or wanting to cancel stuff on Cloud City if Paul ever decides to go there, if he puts out a battleground, so could be something too.
Alright, I'm trying to adjust audio. I'm sorry, everybody. We had enough problems with the visual that I let the audio lapse a little bit. But I'm working on it. So I saw in chat that Dylan, Timo thinks that General is way better versus Vader Enforcer, and that Paul is going to, rely on that retrieval. So he's going to have more resistance dudes in his deck. So I want to interrupt you, Brian. I'm sorry.
I can see it.
When Scotland Girl comes into the chat and says, I have no idea what this deck is doing, we know we hit a winner here.
This is a pretty good first turn from Paul with both Leia and Chewbacca going to the Cantina, a free Ona Brulars to the farm. So he'll be setting up damage quickly in this game, at least. I'm wondering if he activated Alderaan.
Yeah, it looks like he is... Well, so I'm a little confused because he has the strike planning start, but he also has played all wings for the Falcon. I can check if he has pulled Mon Mothma or not. So he may just not be playing Mon Mothma and relying on that Falcon to flip.
I do think he tends to go for the one-turn flip with the Falcon. Most of the time that I've seen him playing, that's what he is playing. He doesn't tend to play Shader a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I didn't realize that before, but yeah, I think he just plays General Calrissian, goes for the flip in one turn.
Okay, so we see Bastian pull a couple shields. He has Oppressive Enforcement, either for free grabbers or to protect his things from sense, alter. He also pulls the Fanfare Shield, and he's going to grab, actually, a grabber right away, so we know what that's for.
Which also makes the grabbing and rescuing the clouds make a little bit more sense, because he knows he's going to have access to a subsequent free grabber.
Yeah, Drew, and it makes sense because Paul did end up drawing all of his cards that he probably activated Alderaan and was looking for it with either the Leia or Chewbacca pool, potentially. Maybe it wasn't there, maybe he had to draw. Alright, so Bastian on turn 2 is going to activate 13. He's going to get to draw one of the cards with Floating Refinery. He's going to use Planetary Rings to grab another Cloud Sector. And Death Star Reactor Terminal to grab, to peek at the top card of his force file and draw one.
Yep. Yeah. This is a pretty crazy deck.
We're still kind of waiting to figure out what it's going to do. It's a nice little draw and activation engine, I guess. There's the Tabana Gas Miner, which we were thinking was going to happen. So, when out of sight, adds 1 to your force trains that related cloud sectors. Also, during your activate phase, if at a Cloud City site, and you control Bespin Cloud City, may cumulatively activate 1 force for every cloud sector on Bespin. So that turns your cloud sectors into 2 1s. And adds 1 to drains. Right after that, we see that he does control Bespin Cloud City now because he's deployed a TIE Interceptor. This is a good time. I like it. Chris Schoenthal messaged me.
Yeah, so back...
go ahead, sir.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, so back in the day when Walseth built a Clouds deck, he played a bunch of artilleries, had TIE Interceptors with guns because everything's maneuver -2, and also it's harder to get to because a lot of decks play Capitals. I'm guessing the only ship that Paul plays is the Falcon, so it has to fly down, and if it goes into the clouds, it's easy to get shot down. So I wonder if he's doing a similar thing here with the artilleries and guns.
Chris Schoenthal, soon after I said that I was going to stream this game, he asked me if I wanted to be surprised by this deck or to know anything about this deck. So I'm pretty glad that I did not, that I chose to be surprised by this deck. Alright, so Bastian just drew a couple cards. Paul on his turn is going to drain for 1 at the Cantina, which is it's -1 because of the image. And Bastian's going to lose the Cloud City Docking Bay from hand.
Alright.
I don't.
Alright, so he is playing Battlegrounds.
That's good. Battlegrounds are good.
Yeah. That is good.
I fully expect that some of what you're talking about could end up in this deck as well, Brian. Pretty degenerate interrupts and things that are meant to push through damage and expedite the game.
So I will say we as a team did look into a Planetary Rings deck early in early after it was released, we were looking at a Senate platform where we would use Bascal to make opponent lose 1 force for each cloud sector on Naboo. So slightly different concept than Bastion is running here, but some of the things that might translate over are that that dreaded Imperial Starfleet to cancel drains, the artillery with the weapons, maybe Talon rolls if he's running like Obsidian 7 or Obsidian 8. So I don't believe that the Falcon can be Talon rolled because it's a resistance ship and not a rebel ship. Right?
I think that's right.
This game's going to make me question a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah.
So we see Paul has added Bail Organa to the Tantive and has deployed the Falcon with General Calrissian. So we probably will see him flip this turn. And that'll set him up nicely because he's going to have a drain of 2 in space and a drain of 1 on the ground. He's pretty well protected at Tatooine. He's vulnerable to something like an EVP Maul at the Cantina, but I don't know. I don't know what to say is in Bastion's deck. He could be running EVP Maul. He could be running like Darth Maul. He could be running no Maul.
Also, it could just be a case of Bash saying, "What can I win with?" You know, he's won the last 2 worlds, and he just throws a pile together and says, "Let's see if this works."
Are you implying that Bastian Winkelhaus is bored with Star Wars cards?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe he wants to spice it up a little bit. You know, playing meta decks is too easy for him.
What can I get away with?
He wants a little bit of a challenge. Yeah.
He's taking a Hall of Theater challenge for day 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope we should relay this information to Dan that this should be the Hall of Theater challenge is to win with this deck.
Yeah, yeah.
Just us mere mortals. Alright, so Paul has moved to Alderaan. Has delivered the tapes. They've been delivered. He's choosing a card now from his reserve deck.
This could take a while.
This could take a moment. Do we think Paul's going to be running any more locations? Or is this going to be it for him?
He definitely plays Mos Eisley for the shuffle.
Yeah, I would expect that. But other than the Mos Eisley, I wouldn't expect to see another.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we think Bastion's running more locations?
Yeah, he lost a docking bay, so I would say yes.
What are the odds that that Brangus shows up at some point during this game?
I'm going 25% chance.
That's pretty high for Brangus, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Why not?
50 minutes.
Yes, 50 minutes. Paul is already down almost 14 minutes in his second turn. So time could end up being a consideration here.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that he has used 14 minutes. That's a while.
Well, those first 2 turns are the most important ones, right?
That is true.
I mean, he did a lot on his first turn, I will say. More than you might on a typical turn 1. And now you see the Falcon fly back to Tatooine. His objective is flipped. Tapes will be delivered. So he's pretty much done everything he was intending to do here by turn 2. He's in a pretty good position. It'd be interesting to see where Bastion, if at all, is able to get a foothold on ground to not have to pay. Like, I assume he's going into this knowing he's going to be paying to drain these cloud sectors, but if he can even get a turn or 2 of free drains, if he's able to get something in space in a side, that could be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Paul's set up to do drains of 2 and 1 with Bail. His destinies are going to be +2 because he's got Bail at one site and I want to brew at the other. It's interesting that he moved General Calrissian off of the Falcon, leaving the Falcon empty.
Yeah, that is interesting. Don't know why he did that.
He also moves Owen and Baru over to the farm. So now he is setting up to do 2, 1, and 1, and drawing Destiny is at +3.
I think Paul's going to be digging for his celebration. Hopefully get that and then just retrieve through all the ping damage that Bastian's going to do.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the chat is probably right that he's concerned potentially about space weapons, and so he moved Lando into Tantive just to hedge his bets against potential weapons against the Falcon.
Alright, so Bastian is going to activate 14 after drawing 2. I'm so confused what's going on here. Alright, he's activated 14, he drew one of them. He activated 16 and drew one of them. That's a weird thing. He does pay 3 to drain for 2 at Bespin Cloud City. Got a weird visual bug with Bastian's reserve deck and force pile, probably from floating refinery.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah, it's rendering that way on my end too.
Plays double Owen and Baru. Which makes sense.
Yeah, if he's looking for...
If you can get Owen Baru the first turn, it's so nice. With Diplo, it just feels great.
Yeah, it's great for like an explosive start like that. Which he did.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely did. It was a pretty good, even though he didn't flip, it was a pretty good turn 1 for him. Anyways.
Also loses Old Ben from hand. So probably not concerned about Bastian coming down to Tatooine this turn, or just has multiples of them. Maybe has something like a dodge to protect Owen and Baru. Blast the door kid potentially for the cantina or a barrier.
I don't think you can dodge Owen and Baru.
Alright, because they're not alone. Combo cards
Also,
never alone.
notably, he lost a copy of Owen and Baru from the top, so he's playing multiple of the Lars family. It's possible he's playing a Harvest.
He does play Harvest. I've seen it in multiple of his decks, so it is something you'd definitely be likely to play.
So Bastian tried to deploy another cloud sector but didn't find one, so Paul got to take a look at the deck so he has a little more idea what's going on now. Bastian does grab a second floating refinery also, so he can draw more cards, which is, what Bastian needs. Deploys an Obsidian Squadron tie, which deploys for 3 at the cloud sector, ability of 2, power 3, maneuver 3, power +2 at a non-unique cloud sector, and you can have the boosted tie cannon, which I don't think we'll see.
I will say, if you had bet me this morning that we were going to see Obsidian Squadron tie in our match, I would not have taken that.
Presence of the
Presence
Force.
of the Force.
Going all in on that Cloud City drain. Paul does currently satisfy Ultimatum, so he will be able to set that up pretty easily, but that will be his last shield if he chooses to pull it. Alright, so I think Bastian is set up to drain for 3 and 2 next turn. Does that seem right?
That does seem right.
That's accurate.
This is a 4.
You can also now draw 2 cards in the hand when activating with the floating refineries, and he'll get to peek at 2 cards with the reactor terminal and take 1 into hand, I believe.
That sounds right. And he gets +1 activation at each cloud sector. which I don't think is factored into that 15 that he's showing. He does draw a whole bunch of cards here, so he's up to 18 in hand.
Bastian notably has no respect for Grimtosh or Mana.
He can retrieve to a turn with Refinery. You're going to make me read Refinery? Okay, so each cloud sector or gas miner drawn in this way, which is when you draw from your force pile with the floating Refinery, may be revealed to retrieve 1 force. You can drain for 1 at the 2-0 now, too? No. Force drain amount is 0.
But the clouds allow him to add 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
That's
Okay.
it.
Thanks, guys.
Oh man. This deck is something, that's for sure.
You know, I didn't start playing until way after Cloud City, and way after like, not the shields, but like the effect versions of most of the shields came out. So I didn't see a lot of this type of deck. We have our new
I would argue
Oh, go ahead.
when clouds are being played in good, it's not normally a good sign.
All right, so he
Let me
pulls
see.
Failure at the Cave to protect cards from Grimtosh, I guess.
Yeah, that's my guess. So he does have a little bit of respect for it. There's not enough to not draw 18 cards.
A minimal amount of respect.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Paul drains for 2 at Tatooine. Bastian's going to lose a droid detector, and they must never again leave this city from hand. So we assume that he's going to set up a free executor at some point.
He certainly has a second of one of that effect in his hand at this point.
Yes.
So Eric is asking about Men of Spades and what his plan would be against that. It's a very fair question. One, do we know if Paul is playing Men of Spades? Interesting to see a broken concentration off the top. So Bastian is going all in on degeneracy in this deck.
That was from hand. That
Yeah,
wasn't from the
honestly.
top.
Oh, it came from hand, excuse me.
Yeah. So not quite going all in, unless he's playing 2, because anything's on the table at this point. I want to up my Brangus percentage. I want to make that like 45% now.
I would love to see a Brangus, it'd be great. It's been a while.
Bastian losing laser cannon battery from hand. Oh boy, what just happened?
Playing Monarch Lost?
Lost.
To reveal Paul's hand. Alright, so it's a trap. Rebel leadership. Rey, Captain Cassian Andor. It's a hit. Hoojix and Out of Nowhere. Luke Skywalker, Rebel Scout. Old Ben, Rebel leadership. Solo. So he's not going to get anything.
I
Oh,
got
sorry,
2. We got the Rebel
leaderships.
leaderships.
That was another interesting visual bug that popped up. I don't know if you guys saw that, but this area down here, where like my hand would be if I was playing, had the dark side card back stretched out. It was weird.
Yeah, Eric mentioned the purpose of the broken concentration is he can potentially get in a lock where he can retrieve his whole lost file with the floating refinery over the course of several turns if he gets it to where his opponent can't draw.
That makes sense when you're playing match play.
I remember a couple NPCs ago, Werfs lost to Phil doing that, and with Broken Con, he just got locked out and retrieved 40 cards. And it can be a pretty tilting way to go.
Notably, Paul is down to 31 minutes, and it's turn 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be a problem as we go deeper into the game.
Alright, so Paul was looking for another site, did not find it, so Bastian gets to take a look at his deck also.
I think you probably would, Eric. Eric is asking if the broken concentration block actually occurred. Would you just try to time yourself out?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hopefully we don't get into such a situation.
Yeah. The morality of that could be questioned, but the morality of playing broken con lock also is questioned, so you know. It might be yeah, it might be able to.
Alright, so Paul's going to use Walklink to grab his celebration, which he can set up immediately. So if he's doing 2 1 and 1 right now, and retrieving 2, versus Bastian doing 3 and 2, and potentially 1 if he pays all 9 force, and potentially retrieving if he reveals the right cards.
And you have to imagine Paul will pull
Ultimatum.
ultimatum.
So
Yeah. So he's retrieving for free, which is pretty nice.
yeah. The thing that I'm questioning here is if he is going to pull Ultimatum, right? Because if he has Menace Fates, maybe he just waits and eats a drain for 1 turn. Because if he pulls Ultimatum, he doesn't have access to, say, Aim High or what else might he need? Maybe that's it. Maybe he just does pull Ultimatum.
I mean, it's very likely you'd have a perimeter scan or a Hear Me Baby to pull an extra shield.
True. Paul's going to deploy Luke and grab a card from his use pile. Paul has 3 shields currently, Dylan.
If you move our box over in front of the text box, Bill,
I can do that. Just we're going to be a little smaller now.
Nobody heard that stuff anyway.
Alright, so Paul will then deploy Ray and get another used pile pool. By my count, he only has the Lando pool left for I Must Be Allowed to Speak, and Lando's already in space. He's going to draw a card with Ray from his force pile as well. And he's going to deploy Mos Eisley, so he can set up the Cantina Shuffle now. So that will increase his damage a little bit, increase his retrieval a little bit, which Brian pointed out he does for free.
He's just going full wide right now too.
Yeah, moving Owen and Brew over to the Dune Sea, so he'll be able to drain for 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, which is 6, and then he'll be able to retrieve 4. Yeah, and he's seen Bastian's deck now, so he can kind of know what he might have on the ground, if anything. Because we might just see something like Dark Waters come out. I don't think Dark Waters comes out, actually, for Tatooine, but...
Definitely with celebrating for potentially 4 turn, like this could be, assuming Bastian's going to have an answer for the celebration at some point, but otherwise, we're looking at potentially a pretty big win here for Paul, I would say.
Yeah. This does seem a little tailored towards a mains deck, the Clouds. Decks that can just go wide and retrieve a bunch like Diplo or QMC can be a challenge.
Yeah, I can't imagine this was the matchup that Bastian was hoping for.
Yeah.
And Paul does pull Ultimatum at the end of his turn.
Notably, both sides do not have aim high or secret plans and are both shieldless.
Yeah.
But
Do not see that every day.
Alright, so Bastian is activating force. I don't know what the total number is because I still can't figure it out, but he does reveal a Tabana gas miner that he took into hand with the floating refinery, so he will retrieve 1 force with that.
Bastian's also going to have to pay to drain, so the fact that he's getting this free retrieval is much more helpful for him.
Very much so, yeah. See, there's my visual bug again. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah, I'm seeing the visual bug.
Yeah, my gem screen is going wild.
So he does activate
was
an
not-
additional 3 with the gas miner, which then fixes the bug.
Yeah. It wasn't made to handle clouds and Tabana gas miners. It's too much.
So Bastian will pay 3 to drain for what will be 2 force at Bespin Cloud City. Notably, my visual bug on Bastian's deck has gone from 2 reserve decks and 2 force piles to 1 reserve deck and 3 force piles.
I also have 3 force piles. They each have 16 cards in them. Oh, now 13.
Bastian will also pay 3 to drain for 2 at the Cloud Sector. So Paul has lost It's a Hit, It's a Trap, General Kraken, all from hand, and has 1 left. Looking at life force counts, Bastian has 22 in life force and 15 in hand. Paul has 22 in life force and 5 in hand. 21 now, as he loses an all wings combo from the reserve deck.
Bastian's really gonna have to find a way to answer the celebration, or else. Yeah, he's not doing any damage basically.
Yeah, Eric points out that because he's running the regular Monarch, he's probably running a Masterful Move combo, and if he had it, he would have played it just to bury the celebration.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Paul also could have put Walkling out of play to get it right back, so. Alright, so Bastian deploying Drop, probably to put back extra copies of They Must Never Again Leave the City, or Miners and Cloud Sectors, so he can draw them again and retrieve.
Yeah, I think it's very much probably for the second function you just mentioned.
Yeah.
He does play They Must Never Again Leave This City, so he will be able to get a free Executor, pick a pronunciation. And he's going to peek at the top 2 cards of his force pile and draw 1 with Death Star Reactor Terminal.
I don't know if Paul plays any other ships other than these 2, Tandem and Falcon. So Bastian's probably fine, yeah, just playing Executor and leaving it.
I mean, with a hand of 13 cards, he's probably got something like an Ozzel or... I don't know.
That's true.
I'm just assuming that he would play stuff that you can pull with Death Squadron assignments, because that will also pull your Executor, that'll pull Ozzel, that'll pull the Stalker. Those all seem like good cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so
Barriers?
Paul's going to play Antilles Maneuver to deploy Captain Antilles, which is very fitting, which immediately gets barriered by Bastian. I guess he's assuming that's the easiest way to put that barrier back, because Paul's pretty much going to leave him alone.
Yeah, I think, just cycle a barrier.
He does have Drop. He could have put it back with Drop. This is not the game I thought I was signing up for today.
I agree.
I love it. This is great. So Matt in chat agrees with you, thinks that Paul only plays the 2 ships. All right, if we're leaning into this degeneracy in Bastian's deck, do we think that he's going to do something like Voyeur, or just like really lean in? Or does the deck have space for that? Like card slots for that?
I don't know. I don't know what's possible with this deck.
So all of it's on the table.
Yeah, there could be anything in here still. Yeah, I mean he's just drawing cards right now, and he had 12 to begin with. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's digging for a masterful move right now. That's the card I would be looking for. You gotta get off celebration, or else
Yeah.
you're gonna lose. Especially when he's retrieving for free too.
Yeah, otherwise you've done nothing in the last turn. Since you paid 6 to drain for 4, and he's going to retrieve 4 this turn for free.
Yeah.
That makes sense, Eric. So Eric points out that if he has something like he probably has the Voyeur, he probably has the Imbalanced Combo, both cards that he can loop via Death Star Reactor Terminal and or Floating Refinery to draw back into his hand.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's probably what that barrier was doing that Timo pointed out earlier, and this command is doing, is daring Paul to grab it so that he can loop something later. That is virtual drop. Virtual drop. You can place a card from hand on bottom of use pile. And you could stack opponent's just played interrupt here.
Yeah, that's probably true. He's just holding interrupts that he wants to play that are going to get grabbed, but he's playing all the interrupts that he doesn't need, that he wants Paul to grab, and then once he grabs it, it's just going to be looped the rest of the game.
The thing is, none of these interrupts are really doing anything right now, so Paul's not very incentivized to grab them. Like, I expect that Paul is aware of what's happening and is just going to wait for some interrupt that's actually doing damage or the masterful move. Otherwise, I don't see him grabbing any of these things.
Yeah. Imbalance is a alright answer to Celebration too. It's not the best, but it's not terrible.
You gotta make sure you play it at the right time in the retrieval also.
Yeah, that is true.
Alright, so Paul activates 18 this turn, leaving 1 in reserve. Is going to drain for 2 at Tatooine. We're likely to see him Cantina shuffle either Leia or Chewbacca, and then drain for 4 more on the ground and retrieve 4. Bastian so far has lost a Clouds and a TIE Interceptor, both from reserve deck, even with a 15-card hand.
Just a quick update from one of the other games. It looks like Justice beat Kieran by 13, Hunt Down versus Hitco.
What are the other matchups? Because I didn't actually get to see what they are.
Yeah, so we got Justin versus Kieran. It's Jared Napolitano versus Chris Kelly, and Shadow B versus Joe Olsen.
All right.
There, yeah.
So Paul went ahead and retrieved 4 force, the same 4 that he lost last turn, and is now draining. Bastian so far has lost a second copy of Drop V from hand, Dreaded Imperial Starfleet from hand.
Ball is down to 23 minutes on his clock. It's turn 4.
This is where things get. I was gonna say this is where things get sketchy for Dark Side. Once you start, because when you have to pay to drain every turn, your force just gets choked so much. So yeah, he's getting to that point where it's like, do I pay to drain every time, or do I need to do other things?
So Bastian also lost Grand Admiral Thrawn from hand and Force Push from hand. But yeah, Bastian's definitely going to need to do something here, right? He needs to find himself a battleground site to go to, so he can satisfy battle plan for a turn. Because even just for a turn, right, he would be able to push through drains of 2, 2, 1, and 1. I guess he still needs to hear the celebration too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing one of his plans is presence the 2-0, like really late game. You just presence that, and you have some gas miners and FMon just sitting there that get you a battleground. It's also interesting they put presence on Cloud City.
Yeah, I would think that should go on Bespin or the 2-0, just to give himself a battleground.
Yeah, I agree. Because you just get capped by ultimatum, so yeah.
But if you put it on the 2-0, I mean, Paul only would really need to drop one guy there that draws ballast, and he'll be able to clear the site.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
100%.
I wouldn't have done it now, but I think, like Brian was saying, you do it very late game. But like, again, you might be right that he's not looking for a matchup with Diplo. He's looking for more of a mains matchup, where maybe late game the only cards you have in your hand are extra copies of the characters already on table. Maybe they're not as quick to pull battle plan, things like that. So Paul thinking his turn through here. I mean, he really doesn't have to do anything, right? Because he's ahead. He's draining for 6. He's retrieving 4, which is outpacing all of Bastian's
The only
damage.
thing... Yeah, exactly. The only thing he has to do is not lose on time. Right now.
Which he's about to be sub 20 minutes. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm interested to see if Paul even draws cards here.
Or deploys anything. I mean, yeah.
So he's going to check what the card in his reserve deck is.
I have no idea what Paul is spending his time on here. Maybe it's about if he should draw cards, and if so, how many.
Alright, so he does not deploy anything. During his move phase, he's going to ship dock Tantive and Falcon. Move Ray to the Falcon. Probably General Calrissian to the Falcon.
Maybe the droids for some forfeit.
Yeah.
Notably, I think Paul does have Solo in hand and opted against playing him on the Falcon, which also would open up a lot of the interrupts in the lost pile, obviously.
What are the timeout rules? Like, if Paul runs out of time, what is Bastian's differential? Is it his reserve deck plus his hand, or just his reserve deck?
I imagine it is reserve deck Life Force plus hand based on other events, but I'm not positive.
I'm not sure either.
That would make the most sense to me, right?
Somehow this movement and ship docking is taking like multiple minutes of time.
Very important decision.
Yeah.
Did move Ray and Admiral Raddus to the Falcon and moves it to Bespin.
There might be. Is there like an internet issue with them? I'm not sure. So it doesn't seem like that should take that long. Ever.
It's like watching paint dry.
Paul's going to draw a couple cards here. Bastian has a control set for stun combo, going after Bail Organa.
Interesting.
Draws a 4, which will get Bail.
So you have to think that this means Bastian has another ship and a weapon?
Yeah, that would make the most sense to me.
Yeah. Man, that'd be huge if he just wipes out the tandem right now. We've already seen laser cannon batteries. He's got his entire deck tracked probably, but at this point.
Yeah. So we did say he needed to do something about celebration. This is certainly one way to do it.
He appears to be going about it not in the way I was expecting.
Yeah.
Seems like a theme for this deck.
Actually mentioned this specific line of play in the chat a while back that Control Set for Sun could do this exact thing.
Bail is no longer on Tantive, Dylan. He was just set for stunned. Paul's still drawing cards here. Bastian did put a card back with drop, so if he activates 12, he will know what he has. Not that he won't know what he has otherwise. But if he activates 12, he has whatever card he put back, plus command, plus what else did he use force for this turn?
Well, that might have just been the Tabana guy, right? Like, because then he can loop him, reveal it, retrieve force.
I imagine this turn it is more important to knock out Tantive than anything else.
Yeah. I know Paul plays multiple barriers, so that could be an issue. He's probably digging for those right now. Like, he knows that he's coming with guns, so he's just looking for a way to stop him from shooting.
If anything, even it's forcing him to draw a substantial amount of cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I would guess that Barrier Canceller is not a luxury that this dark deck can afford, card slot wise.
Yeah. I would have to agree. He could have been looking for that with Monarch too, knowing that he plays multiple barriers when he played it Lost.
I mean, if this is his dark deck, I can't wait to see what his light deck is. It's got to be Ancient Watering Hole Gungans, right?
It very well could be his agents in the court deck.
Yeah, it really could.
I was all ready. I had Rescue the Princess queued up for day 3 if I had made
Is that true?
That is 100% true.
Oh my. Oh my.
I also had the Hitco deck with the Never Tell Me the Odds in it that was ready to go also.
Yeah.
Should have played that one.
I like that better than Rescue the Princess.
Alright, so we're going to Bastian's turn here. He uses his Death Star Reactor Terminal to look at 2 cards in his force pile, draw 1 into hand. Then he activates with his Divine Gas Miner, up to 6 in his force pile now, still 11 in deck.
Alright, so he does reveal a gas miner to retrieve 1.
So both Cloud City and the Clouds have a floating refinery on them, and the Cloud City has presence in the Force, and the Bespin has planetary rings on it.
So I think right now on top is his Imperial Command, right? Because he used the 3 Force for Sepher Stun and then drew Command for Destiny. And now he activates past them. Okay. Doesn't matter.
So he reveals the Tavana Gas Miner and retrieves the Control Sepher Stun.
Alright, so Force Push here.
Second copy of Force Push.
Okay.
Second copy of Force Push.
I was wondering if he played 2, considering he lost 1 from hand last turn. Man, Grimtash would be a blowout versus this deck, I think. Multiples of everything.
Matt asking about.
I do love just.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, Meander versus Gun. Yeah, I see that. Yeah. That could be an option, honestly. I was wondering the same thing, if you could play Meander versus and Gun. And just shoot in the move phase, so it doesn't matter.
Well, he's not sure what that bottom card is, right? Because it's just one of the cards he used for Sepher Stun. Unless he put it back earlier.
Did he put a card back with drop?
He did. It was on top of the command though.
Oh really? Okay.
So what I'm thinking is he potentially peeked at cards with Reactor Terminal, chose 1 and put the other back, so he might know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. He's a much better player than I am.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's kind of cool just seeing ability 1 interceptors draining for 3. Simpler times. Who needs Darth Vader?
It's interesting to me that Paul stuck with Diplo, I think, all 3 days, right? He definitely played it yesterday. Yeah. And he was playing a ton of Hitco earlier in the year, before it got the boost from the latest set. Oh, thank you, Eric. Sends the card to the bottom of your used pile. I thought it went to your used pile. So he does know what that card is.
Oh, and here it is.
The regularly seen Admiral Piet on Scythe 1.
Yeah.
Paul does have the barrier.
Yeah. But it doesn't... Oh, wait. Yeah, no, it doesn't... I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because he's still going to shoot during move phase. And then
exactly.
Move the Executor back to generate.
Maybe got that Antilles maneuver back in hand?
That would just force him to use a card and spend an extra force, right? Or
yeah, I think it's -1
-1
too, so maybe that throws off a shot.
But Scythe 1 adds 2, right?
Yeah. This is this is such a pile. It's amazing.
So Onyx 2 will come out. That gets a shield for Bastian, which is pretty big because he can grab the Secret Plan shield now.
Yeah, that's really nice.
This is a good turn
Oh
for
my
that.
god.
Another cannon.
Yeah.
He does only have one force in reserve deck. So he can't shoot down both things this turn. As awesome as that would be, I don't think there's a way for Dark to recirculate.
No, but the fact that he's going to get this celebration likely off the table is huge for Bastian Shades' lead.
Yeah.
So he does
And
use
he's just gonna wipe everything. Not on this turn, but in coming turns, he's gonna wipe all the ships. Like it's.
Yeah.
And then Paul's gonna be paying. So.
There's,
Alright, well now it's looking really good for Bastian, honestly.
Yeah, there's artillery for his weapon Destiny, which he put down with drop, most likely. Shoots the Tantive down. That makes Calrissian, Ramus Antilles, R2, C3PO, and Tantive all go lost, and Celebration will follow. I wonder if he just leaves Onyx 2 in front of the Falcon.
Yeah, I think you just leave Piet and the Scythe at Tatooine.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Oh. Yeah, because then you can...
Yeah, and then Executor front.
Alright, so he's cut 2 off of Paul's damage. Paul's going to only be able to drain 4 next turn. Oh boy, okay. So he does move the Executor to Tatooine. It's going to put a card down with drop, so he's got whatever that card is, and then a mystery card, and then a 7. And he is expecting to lose some cards. So Paul can't even battle in
Trying
here.
to become famous, Bill?
Oh boy, you know it. Buy followers.
I'm sure you should click that link.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing bad will happen.
So Bastian just drawing 1 card here. Action is on Paul.
Oh man, this is hilarious. I love this deck so much. It's yeah, it's so funny.
Cassian is a good answer. Cassian is in his hand also. We saw that from the Monarch earlier.
That is true.
So that could
I
be
wonder if
a bad time.
Bastian remembers that.
Yeah, it's definitely still in hand. It was revealed and has not been played or lost.
Have we seen Defensive Fire V? We have not.
Yeah, I mean he might have a Gick to get a Gick out, and he moved Executor over to Tatooine to move the Scythe back out over.
Yeah, because
I think he's just trying to trap.
Right, because either you battle into it here, and you lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible, yeah. Bastian also may just have Rebel Barrier for the Andor.
I mean, if he has Rebel Barrier, we have an issue.
In the chat, actually. Right. So, assuming that he gets to this point, he's going to have trapped the Falcon or forced him to fly the Falcon.
Oh boy.
Which is still great. Kicking him out of space is huge. Making him pay to drain is, yeah.
Scott, are you still here? Did you see that Paul, Paul drained and Bastian just lost? I'd just as soon kiss a Wookiee from reserve deck. Loses a grabber from hand. We'll see Paul do a Cantina shuffle here probably and drain for 1 and 1 more.
Paul is down to 13 minutes on his clock.
I know, it's crazy, man.
Bastian,
60-minute difference is
Bastian's sitting
a
at
lot.
30. So out of commission here, we'll cancel image. So he's going to lose 2 to that
That's
drain.
kind of nice.
That will get grabbed. This is match play, Scott.
What day is it?
It's day 3. Sunday.
He also did just grab out of commission when it was supposed to be, or when it was played lost, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. He did say that he thought it was played used.
Yeah, I don't think that Paul is actually intentionally trying to time out, as Drew suggested what will happen if the broken concentration lock goes on. But we could get into a situation where we're in there. There's the Imperial artillery at the top as predicted, Brian.
I don't think that. I think that's a mystery artillery. I think that was the force he used to move, and the artillery is still on top. I was wrong.
He is. I don't know if he knows what his destinies are right now.
Who are you
Still, this
referring
is
to?
the dangers of
This is danger zone.
playing. Yeah, well, this is the dangers of playing only 2 ships. So you can just get. If you lose space now in Diplo, yeah, I think the game's over.
Yeah, because well, I mean, he has 14 cards in hand. He can still do stuff, but he's gonna have to pay to drain 2, and then pay 3 more to drain anywhere else for just 1.
Exactly.
So Paul checking his reserve deck.
I believe he used the Falcon's text when he flipped, Steve. So
Yeah.
it was a turn double move.
That is correct.
So there's Cassian, like we thought.
No barrier from Bastian, who also only has 3 cards in hand now, so he's not working with a ton of options.
Well, looks like you were wrong.
Oh, there's the barrier.
There's the barrier.
I spoke too soon. Excuse me.
So that barrier gets grabbed. Makes sense because Bastian's getting kind of low on force, but that also opens him up to be able to play some of his more abusive interrupts that we think are going to happen.
Yeah. Artillery is online now, just twice a turn if he has to.
Yeah, artillery or voyeur or I guess imbalance doesn't matter anymore. The way this game is going, it might just be like fear.
Oh man, that'd be great. I would love some fears.
I'm excited that if Bastian wins this match, we get to see at least one more game with this deck.
Yeah. If it's against mains, I don't know how you can win. I think Legend has a chance to beat it, but yeah.
Well, I feel like
You
Hiko,
definitely are happy if your opponent's rolling out Hitko against this, and you have Dreaded Imperial Starfleet and things like that just make it really challenging for them.
Yeah.
is this a better or worse concept than the 5d6 Superstar?
Ooh.
I think probably in the macro sense, the ISD deck is better against the range of decks in the field, but the surprise factor from this deck goes a long way too.
Yeah. In match play, this deck is pretty disgusting. If you get Broken Con off, and yeah.
Paul checking his reserve deck again, just to make sure it's the same 2 cards.
That...
Down
Yeah,
to
we did that.
9.5 minutes. It's been like 2 minutes since he's done it, so I understand.
Oh my.
It's pretty uncanny, honestly.
I mean, he's for sure gonna lose that time. For sure.
You know,
There's like no way he does it at this point.
I've seen a lot of Paul's games broadcast in like the OCS and from Worlds and stuff, and everybody always says that like there's no way he's not going to time out. I don't think I've actually seen him time out.
Well, there might be a first time for everything.
Yeah, there might be. This is insane. He's under 9 minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean he's gone.
Bastian nearly has 30.
He's gone 45 seconds just now doing nothing. So 2 forced to move the Falcon away, +1 because of they must never again leave this city. Well, that's gonna get shot.
Yep. Cassian can cancel out of battle, right?
I don't want to click the cards because I'm told that's what's slowing some stuff down.
Oh well, I've been doing that nonstop. My bad.
It cancels a just drawn weapon or battle list you draw. So yes, it can be done outside of battle.
Okay.
That's a good point by Drew. Bastian is literally tracking every card in his deck and is using way less time.
It's insane.
He's not human. He's machine.
That is also true.
More machine than man. I tried to track some of the deck and I was wrong, so that was a bad time. Alright, here's a floating refinery reveal of a Tabana gas miner to retrieve 1. Standard day 3 line of play.
Of course. Saw that coming. Before we started, I saw this coming, of course.
There's 1 force in his reserve deck. It is the 1 force he used to barrier, but you know, I'm sure that G knows what it is. I certainly don't.
Yeah. I think he does because he
floated with the reactor terminal.
Yeah, he looked last turn with the reactor terminal, so I think he knows.
Alright, so Bastian will pay 3 to drain for 2 at Bespin Cloud City. Paul's going to lose Rebel Scout Luke and Gian Arso. Bastian will pay 3 to drain at Clouds, and Paul will lose It's a Hit, and you've got a lot of guts coming here. So 7 force left to work with. Any other drain he does would be for 1, so probably not worth it right now. He's going to drop to put a card down on the bottom of his use pile.
That is 1 card in hand right now.
Yeah, for now. He's gonna peek at 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Take 1 in hand. Well, we know that one of the cards he had in hand when it was 2 before was a gas miner because he had to reveal it. So that's probably what he put on the bottom. Is that how that would work? Maybe not.
That's funny. I'm going with the design, Kieran. 100%.
Brian just looks defeated. Just
Yeah. Yeah, this
trying to track at the Bastian level while waiting for Paul.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I can work on that. I'll just track Bastian's deck with him.
There you go. We will all be better players
Definitely
at the
get
end
lost.
of this game.
Yeah.
We're sub 8 minutes.
Yeah. In all honesty, this is my biggest complaint about playing online. It takes
Me too.
so long. It's ridiculous. I can't. I don't want to spend 2 hours playing a Star Wars game, especially online.
It's not as bad when it's straight to schedule and people can just concede. But in these match play events, when you have to eke out every potential differential and so the games go a long time, it is very tedious playing online.
Yes.
Alright, so Bastian, trying to figure out the best line of play here.
You probably just like went to the restroom or something to make Paul know how it feels to sit there for forever.
Order a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric, question, could timers be 35 minutes per person? I would argue for at least lowering to 40, if not 35. 40, I think, is reasonable for any real tournament event, but 50 minutes, I think, is excessive.
Well, I feel like this would be 50 minutes anyway, because generally we give more time for match play. Just in general. Generally, in general. Alright, so he is going to fire the cannon. It is the artillery. And we should see that get cancelled by Cassian.
Cancels.
Putting R2 and C3PO out of play. So that draw fails.
So we get one more turn and 3 turns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's extra 5 damage, which is it's pretty big.
Fair point, Worf's, about the need to accommodate for occasional lag that the time does help there. I think some of that is also an issue of the, for instance, like when Kessel Run is stacking Destinies, it ticks down on the dark side player. There's things like that in just general when neither player is doing anything but someone's clock ticks that I think you should try to solve.
Alright, so Bastian goes through, just draws a couple cards. He's got a 7 on his use pile. He's got a Tabana gas miner on the bottom of his use pile, probably. That's probably a bigger number on the bottom.
Yeah.
Draws a couple
Probably
cards,
an artillery.
saves 2. You think it's a third artillery?
Maybe. Yeah, who knows, actually? I don't know how many artilleries he plays.
Paul drains
It's
for
ST7,
1.
great card.
Paul's going to variant for 5 on the ground total. It's been Stalker and Carnal Jendon in Onyx 1 from hand. We'll see what these other 3 are. So 2 at the Cantina, a Sense from hand, and Artillery from top of reserve.
Who is he sensing with ever?
I was just wondering the same thing. That was not a card I was expecting.
Loses a Gas Miner from hand. Maul went off the top. I assume if he finds Maul early, he can throw him at the 2-0
Oh, yeah?
and just sense things.
Add one to his weapons, too?
Yeah.
That could be it.
Paul searching his reserve deck again. 2 cards in there. Changing pilot capacity to passenger. Solo to the Falcon. So with Solo and Ray on there, he's going to be able to draw 2 Destiny.
Hey, I'm gonna need that.
Werfs, you did miss that. He did shoot during move phase, and Cassian was used. Alright, so we have an actual battle here. Not what I expected to happen. So
Interesting.
Paul's going to retrieve one with Leia. Gets back, it's a hit. Bastian's going to shoot, probably.
I assume so. Maybe Paul's just going or banking that Bastian doesn't know what this card is.
That's a dangerous game there.
Yeah, it is.
The Falcons maneuver 6, and Scythe 1 adds 2. Or does Scythe 1 subtract 2? I don't know what it does. He doesn't. Anyway, Bastian does not shoot.
Scythe 1 does not add anything.
Okay. Does it make the ship maneuver -2 or something?
No.
Is it Meander that does that? That makes sense. So Paul
It just
draws...
says once
Yeah, I
during
can
your
see
move
that.
phase, you can fire a weapon
Oh, okay.
and or make an additional move. And it's immune to less than 4 at the end.
So Paul draws a 5 and a 2 for Battle Destiny, making his total 11 after he adds 1, 2, 3 to it. 4 to it, because Ray. Bastian draws a 5. So Paul will lose Cassian, and Bastian will lose the Executor. So that sets up next turn. Bastian will be able to either shoot during move phase at Tatooine or battle with Onyx 2 and shoot with the cannon. We know we put a card down on the bottom of his use pile. It'll be the next to last card.
Yeah, he's getting to the point where it is going to be a little tight on force to do everything that he needs to do. Like, he needs to push damage, and he needs to retrieve, and he needs to just save to shoot and clear,
Yeah.
so...
Alright, so Bastian instead activates everything.
Weird.
Is he just drawing here?
There's no way, right? There's no way you just draw right here.
Maybe Paul's tactics got the best of him.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like Bastian is drawing up here. If that is the case, Paul has 12, 17 in life force. and 13 in lost pile. Wackling is
Alright,
going to increase that by 1, so 18.
Paul wins again, and he does not time out. It's impressive. I wonder why Bastian drew up here.
Yeah. So that is 18 in life force and 12 in lost pile for Paul versus 23 in lost pile for Bastian. That was the first game. I will add that to the thing here. Actually, I'm going to start just a notepad over here. Yeah, so we are going to take a short break, I guess, while they take a break. And then we will come back with game 2, where we will see Bastian playing light side against Paul playing dark side. Alright. See you in a bit, guys.